everyone, my name is Maria, and in this video I would like to share my thoughts on Common Planner by Sterling Ink that I've been using for the last 3 months. I'm going to do a flip through, show how I used it, share my thoughts on advantages and disadvantages, and compare it with Hobonichi Cousin. There are 3 reasons why I bought this planner. First of all, as a Hobonichi Cousin user, I fell in love with the layouts and Tomo River paper, but I got tired of certain things. Things like quotes on every single page that I have to cover with a washi tape because I find them distracting. And things like colors that change from months to months, and I don't necessarily like all of them. So the Common Planner really seemed to me like a fixed version of Hobonichi Techo Cousin without all the unnecessary colors and quotes and the layouts that nobody knows what to do with. So that is why I just went for it. The second reason was that they had the full year option with the daily pages for every day of the year, and I thought that this is exactly what I need because I would like to keep everything in one place, in one planner. I'm not a big fan of having multiple planners. I honestly have no idea how people do that, so that's why I went for it. And later in the video, I'm going to talk about why I've changed my mind, and now I'm looking into something else. And finally, the third reason is the amount of goal setting spreads. Naively, I thought that that's the purpose of having a planner, to learn how to set goals and break them down into smaller tasks and plan your year in that way. But surprisingly, not that many planners have these spreads to set up the yearly and quarterly goals. So I was very happy that unlike Hobonichi Cousin, Common Planner had them, and they are one of my favorites here. So let's have a look at how I used it so far. As every other planner of this type, it starts with a calendar of a current year, and honestly, I haven't found a better way to use it than just marking my traveling. What I do is I assign a color to a specific country and then mark the days which I spend in that country in the calendar. I started doing it last year in my Hobonichi Techo weeks, and it worked out pretty well for me because throughout the year from time to time I had to go back through my notes and figure out when exactly I traveled to which country. Then I've done something for the first time this year, which is the vision board, inspirational board. I've printed a lot of images that I found on Pinterest. It was a pretty fun thing to do. And this page I'm going to leave for the yearly reflection. Now to one of my favorite spreads, which is a goal setting spread, which I think is amazing. It's very useful. It's a great thing to do at the beginning of the year. So what we have here and what I've done here is wrote down the areas of my life that I want to focus on. Then I wrote a very broad goal, what I want to achieve one day. Then a more specific, what can I do this year to achieve that very broad goal. So as you can see, there is a 1 day and this year, and you see some covered space at the top. I think it was a half a year and then quarterly, weekly, monthly, weekly, daily. But I've covered that, and what I'm going to do with this is I tried to write down a short reflection of how it went, things that were actually achieved in each of the quarters. And this space I'm going to use for extra goals if I add something or something changes. So as an example, someday I want to be healthy and comfortable with my body. This year I want to reach my ideal weight and also improve my allergy situation. And what I've done for that in quarter 1, I followed the skincare routine for my allergy, and I did some Pilates classes, which to be honest, are not very good for the weight loss, but I hope that in the next quarters, I'm gonna achieve more. So here, I would break down my yearly goals into quarterly and monthly goals and also track the habits that I associate with those goals, which honestly did not work that well for me. For example, what didn't work is tracking multiple habits, like 8 to 10 habits didn't work. That's why this month I'm only tracking 4, as well as this 12-week year system where you build a plan for the quarter. It seemed a little bit too long for me. That is why this month I'm planning only for 1 month and I'm writing down the monthly goals, not the quarterly goals. So we're going to see how it works out. Then we have monthly spreads that I don't use as monthly spreads. I just love my weekly spreads. Everything that I need throughout the day, I have there. So that is why I don't really use monthly spreads. I don't know what to do with them. So I use them for something that in bullet journal community is called collections, which are the list of things, the collections of things that you like during the year or events that happen to you. So this one, for example, is focusing on my achievement in my studies, which now I've put there my IELTS score, and also I'm about to finish the instructional design course this month, so that's gonna go there. Then I have the collection of books. Don't be surprised about Stuart Little. I have to read quite a few children's books for my job. I have films and TV series, and as you can see, my partner is making me watch a lot of Marvel movies. I have the board game spread where I would list all of the new board games that I've tried this year. The yearly highlights, but I'm not going to show because it has some personal stuff. Then it's a wish list, a very silly list of 30 things I want to do before 30, which I only have 1 month left for. And then the rest of the monthly spreads, I just decided to leave blank because probably I'm going to use them for something related to my studies. If I start my master degree in September, which I really hope for, then probably they will become a study calendar or I will find some other use for them. Then we have weekly spreads that I absolutely love. Vertical layout is something that I find very convenient, very useful. Everything I need on a daily basis is here. And I love decorating. I love stickers, can't help it. So this is how I decorate my weekly spreads. I'm also thinking about making the Plan With Me weekly videos. If you're interested, let me know. And then we have the blank daily pages for every day of the year, which I thought was great, but let's face it, I personally do not do daily pages. I don't have time for it, and I just end up either not using all of these pages or just using them as note paper, scratch paper, which I honestly don't see any point in doing. Why? Because I love to keep my planners and then go through them years later. So I just don't see the point of keeping a lot of note pages. I want to keep the spreads, weeklies, monthlies, my lists, my goals. That is something that has value. But all of these pages, honestly, they don't work for me. Now let's get to advantages and disadvantages. Advantage number one, I think, is design. It's very minimalistic, it's very clean. So if you're like me who likes to add a lot of colors, you can do it. If you like very clean, plain, minimalistic design, nothing is going to distract you here. So I think design is definitely 5 stars out of 5. The second advantage for me is the weekly spreads. So the vertical layout is something that I love, and I think for people who work and who have a lot of calls and meetings and schedule things is something that would be very useful. And also another thing that not all planners have, unfortunately, is the size of the weekends the same as the size of the weekdays. For example, Wonderland, which is a great planner, has the limited space for Saturday and Sunday. For me, who sometimes has calls, meetings, consultations, different kind of appointments on the weekends, I love that this planner dedicates equal time, equal space for each day of the week. Advantage number three is the size. I love B6 and A5 is bigger, which gives you more space for writing, but honestly, it doesn't really fit in any bags that I have. It only fits in the backpack and it's not that convenient for me. So B6 is a great size for daily use. And advantage number four is all the goal spreads, which some other planners, including Hobonichi Techo Cousin, don't have, unfortunately. Now let's jump to the disadvantages, and the first one is the size. I know that I've just said that it's an advantage, but also let's agree that if it's a standard size, something like A6, A5, it's way easier to find a cover. I'm using this Moterm cover that is great, but if I had an A5 planner, I could just walk into any stationery store and I would get a cover. But with B6, I have to order it, and it's really subjective because it depends on where you live. For me, I have to order it from another country, I have to pay extra tax, and it just not that convenient. So for me, size is a huge advantage, but at the same time is a disadvantage. Second disadvantage, very subjective as well, is the amount of these blank pages. As I've mentioned before, they just don't work for me. So I know that a lot of planners, they offer this system where you have your weeklies and monthlies in one notebook, and then you have another notebook, or you have Wonderland planner that does not have that many blank pages, and that's something that I will be looking into for next year. But honestly, it's just not something that I need. So again, very subjective, but a disadvantage for me. And the third disadvantage that is somewhat objective in my point of view is the quality of the cover. So this is what it looks like as soon as I take it out of the Moterm cover, the external cover that I have. As you can see, it is too thin, it is not holding up straight. So at the end of the year, before I put it on the shelf, I just need to straighten it up, do something about it so it looks good again. When I first saw the cover, I fell in love with it. I love this black and gold. It looks absolutely amazing. It would look great on the shelf, especially comparing to the Hobonichi Cousins cover, because this pale yellow color, I'm sorry, but I have no idea what they were thinking when they created this. But for me, it's just too thin, and this is something that I wish they fixed, because if they do, this planner would be nearly perfect. I know that this year Hobonichi came up with Han, which unfortunately is only in A6, but the idea is great, that it's a planner that already has this beautiful, very thick cover, so you don't need to buy an external cover. It would look amazing on the shelf. It's not bulky, so that's great. But unfortunately, there are no A5 or B6 cover with a cover like that. So that's something that I will be looking forward to, and I hope that either Hobonichi or Sterling Ink or someone else comes up with it, because most of those planners have this very, very thin cover that is just impossible to use without the external cover. Thank you so much for watching. This was my first video on this channel, so I really hope that you find it fun and useful. And please subscribe if you want more stationery content, and have an amazing day.